Every woodworker has one of these, a pile of scrap wood that's just too valuable to throw away, or they're just never big enough for the next project. Over the years, I've made tons of CNC projects from scraps just like these, and today I'm gonna show you some of my favorites.
We're gonna start this one off with probably one of my favorite projects in the video, a spatula, which is essentially just a fancy cooking utensil. We'll be using a piece of scrap mahogany, which was actually pretty warped and twisted before I flattened it, which makes it perfect for this. This is also a two-sided 3D carve, which can be intimidating for some CNC users, because you have to flip the piece over halfway through, as you see me doing now. You can use dowels for this to ensure perfect alignment, but on simple stuff like this, I just make a simple fence, as there's not much detail here, and if it's off slightly, I can just sand it out, and you'll never know on the finished product. And just like that, 8 minutes per side, and we have a pretty much finished spatula. I go ahead, sand off the tabs, give it a tiny bit of shaping, removing any of the mill marks, and then it's pretty much just ready for sanding. And here's something else you can try. There's always these weird pieces of wood where, like, what else am I gonna use this for, besides a small little scrap project? I just remove the bad part of the wood and just glue in a contrasting piece of wood, and in this case it was a piece of maple inside some walnut. With utensils, it's important to spray them down with water before the final sanding. If you don't, the utensil will feel rough to the touch after the first time it's washed.
And I like to finish these with a mineral oil or a tung oil. Anything pretty much that's food contact safe. I think the tung oil lasts a little bit longer, but either way, the cutting board oil works just fine. And this utensil here is my favorite utensil to use. It's a spoonchula, which is a spatula and a spoon, and it's what I use pretty much every time I cook. Pretty much anyone that cooks a home-cooked meal uses some sort of utensil, so it's just an easy gift to give to somebody. They're not exactly high-value items. You can get definitely more money, and they're easier to sell if you put a family name on it. They take about 12 to 18 minutes depending on what utensil you make. Not much wood, easy to make, and relatively easy on the sanding part. I did a little bit of shaping and then some finish sanding. The thing that takes the longest is just kind of hand sanding this inside here. But other than that, I highly recommend trying to make some type of utensil.
And this one's for all you scrap lovers that can't let those little pieces go. This one is super simple. The design itself is basically a pocket and a profile toolpath, so there's really not much machining involved. I think the hardest part is releasing them from the excess wood itself. It's been a while since I've made these, and typically I use this oscillating tool to cut the tabs, but I figured these were small. I'll just try to smash them with a sharp chisel, which was a bad call because I ruined a few of them. So be careful and pay attention to the wood grain. And then they just need a little bit of sanding and some sort of finish. I typically use like a Danish or a tung oil.
And the Book Buddies or page openers. These again aren't a high dollar item, but you can cut a ton of them and you don't need much wood to make them. And I think all these took less than 10 minutes to cut. I personally have never sold these, but I did give a ton away as gifts, and book lovers absolutely love them. They think they're super cool. And I did have one of my followers use my file to make a ton of these. They put them in a big jar on the front of their craft fair table, and they said people absolutely love them. They don't really sell them to make a ton of money. It's more so a conversation piece to get people in your booth. They see a cheap item in a big jar of these, and they just kind of look cool in the jar. So it's just something to draw people in. And there's been a ton of times where I've sold an $80 or $120 item to somebody and they come back to me and buy a higher price tag item or a bunch more of that one item. So don't always sleep on the small cheap items, because them small simple items could bring in a big ticket sale. I personally don't mess with it, but if you're looking for sales and you got scraps to burn, this might be a good one to try out.
This is another super simple one. Very simple toolpath and just a 1/4 inch downcut. This is another kitchen item, and I think kitchen items will kinda always be king when it comes to small projects like this. Most kitchen items can be easily replicated with wood, which means you can replace that cheap plastic with something beautiful and natural. You just can't put it in the dishwasher. These take about 6 to 8 minutes each, and then I give them a little bit of a round over look just to make them look a little more finished, quick sanding, and a little bit of finishing oil, and they're ready to go.
Almost all these aren't high dollar items, but you're making them out of essentially free wood. For someone like me who makes a lot of cutting boards, I have a ton of offcuts that are, 24 inches long that are hard to use for like cutting boards and other things. And the customer already paid for that wood. So that wood to me is essentially free. I'd rather put my scraps to use and burn 15 minutes and give them away or get 20 bucks for something like this than just burn it if it's a nice piece of wood. You put hot pans on them, you can put baking trays on them. If I was to sell something like this, it'd be like a bundle gig where I'd sell 2 to 4 of them in a set. And you could probably get a little creative with the designs. I try to keep them relatively simple. I'm not trying to make the world's fanciest trivet. I want minimal prep work and minimal finishing work. Quick and easy is the name of the game with this kind of stuff.
It always feels good taking old failed projects and turning them into something actually useful. It feels extra good using these pieces because I just know they've been sitting there for months, if not years. And since we're using scraps, I don't have very many large chunks, so we'll have to glue some pieces together with strips, kind of like a cutting board or a butcher block. And then with some type on and passes through the planer, we're ready to get started. And for this entire project, we'll be using a 1/4 inch down cut. And a little later, we'll touch on what's going on here in the middle, pretty much more scrap harvesting, you'll see. The only downside to making things out of scrap is you kind of have to conform to the piece of scrap you have. So it takes a little bit extra time usually to kind of set up and get things started. And I'll be using dominoes to assemble this, but dowels or anything like that works just fine too. And after I cut the top section of the feeder on the CNC, I noticed some cracks in the end. So I like to kind of fill those with CA glue or something like that, just to help stabilize it to hopefully prevent any further cracking. And then I cut 2 more smaller pieces of scrap on the table saw and put a 1/4 inch round over on those so we could do these mortise and tenons for the runners at the bottom of the feeder. And these sit in there pretty dang snug. And I think this specific design would flat pack very well, as it's very snug, and once you put the top on there, it's not going anywhere. Which shipping pet feeders was one of our biggest issues when we were selling them. So the lighter and flatter you can ship something, the cheaper it is, and odds are it's less likely to break. But since I plan on keeping this one for myself, we're just going to go ahead and glue this whole thing together. A little bit of sanding, a little bit of finish, bada bing, bada boom.
And pet feeders. This is definitely probably the highest dollar item in this video, and I've literally paid for this shop selling pet feeders. Not this specific design, as this is a newer design. And I did show this in a prior video, but the one I made was too big for my dog, so I ended up using scraps I had laying around to make the medium size instead of the large size. It was just a little too tall for her. You don't gotta get overly creative on these, just look up dining table designs or coffee table designs and you're essentially just CNC 2 holes in it. And then this was also from the other video, but name plaques, additional add-on purchase, little extra money here. And honestly, these are pretty easy to make, so easy to make I was almost tempted to start selling these again. So I'm gonna go deliver this to Moki and she'll have a brand new dining table.
And remember these? This is probably the perfect example of utilizing scraps. Every time I cut a pet feeder, I'm already cutting these circles out for the bowls. And from every feeder, I can get pretty much 2 plant stands. Or I could just stack these circles up in the corner and spend a whole day making a whole batch of them. The circle is getting cut out either way, and the legs barely use any material. Even if you sell them pretty cheap, you're still coming out ahead because most of it would have been scrap anyway. And it doesn't have to be a plant stand, I could have turned these into trivets or catch-all trays. Take a look at your offcuts you accumulate the most and ask yourself, is there something else I could turn these into before they even leave the CNC?
And plant stands. A lot of people love plants. My wife has a million plants and she never has enough plant stands. Tons of designs, tons of sizes, they don't use much wood, and they're very easy to make. It might not look strong just because it's essentially mortise and tenon, but I bet I could stand on it. It also doubles as a stool. Oh, this is sketchy. Whoa! Okay, point proven, I'm gonna get hurt. So yeah, it works as a stool, but I wouldn't recommend that.
Now we'll switch over to plywood scraps for this one. I've got this random chunk that's been sitting around forever, and I'm going to cut as many push sticks as I can out of it. I don't use plywood very often, so I don't have many scrap projects revolving around plywood, but I do prefer plywood for push sticks over regular wood, as it's stronger and less likely to break. And I absolutely hate plastic push sticks. And since this is a shop project and it'll eventually be destroyed, I just knock down any sharp edges and give it a light sanding, and she's ready to go.
And probably every video, I get a few comments where people say, well, you can't sell that. You're never gonna make any money doing that, which is fine. You don't have to make money making every single project ever. For instance, you could use the CNC to save money. If you have a table saw and a bandsaw, you probably need a push stick. And this is my daily driver, and he has seen some stuff. And it's about time to retire him. And I just think the sharks look cool, and I should be good on push sticks for a while. So make a shark push stick because you see it and you smile, and it saves you fingies.
If you have a scrap project I need to try, throw it down in the comments because I clearly need more ways to get rid of stuff. This stuff barely even dented my piles. I think this was actually one of the first CNC projects I designed myself. Designing stuff for your CNC can be pretty intimidating when you first get started, so I remember being pretty proud of this one when I finally got everything to fit together and actually work. And since the CNC can cut perfect circles at any diameter, it's very easy to add brass accents to pretty much anything, especially this mallet handle. You can get the brass rods for pretty cheap, and I've incorporated them into a lot of projects just because they're cheap and easy to use. So if you get the fitment just right on these, you can do something kind of cool. I've had people tell me that this is in reverse, but it's not. If it's snug enough, just keep tapping it, and you hear it seat firmly.
And on the trend of shop projects, a mallet. These are super fun to make. I actually did sell a ton of these. Someone actually did buy this mallet here, and I sell these for, I think, 60 bucks. That's Jess. She does all the pricing and stuff like that. I've even given these away to non-woodworkers because they'll come in my shop and they're like, that thing is so cool. I don't know why, but I want it. And I usually just give them a mallet, and I spend 15 minutes cutting a new one. And just standing here right now, I can see about 6 mallets. I'd highly recommend making one. Just like a push stick, every shop needs a mallet.
Now this project used to be my #1 scrap eater, and that would be catch-all trays. They're just so versatile, and you can pretty much make endless designs with them. I personally focused on dog and cat trays because my wife and I love animals, and we've rescued and fostered quite a few over the years. My advantage here though was I'm pretty good at graphic design, so I could whip up different dog breeds or even make custom designs for clients without a ton of extra work. And I really need to revisit some of these scrap projects, but honestly, I get rid of way more scraps than I probably should. Most of the time, it's just because I don't have time to deal with them. But if I actually just set the good pieces aside, I could spend a few hours every once in a while batching a bunch of these out. Or maybe just focus on some of the popular breeds and sell them during the holidays. And as they say, the riches are in the niches. It needs to be custom or revolving around a niche or a hobby. The odds of you selling a basic round or square catch-all tray are pretty slim, let alone getting a decent price for it.
And one that'll never get old, catch-all trays. I used to sell a lot of these custom trays for $60 to $80, and then I think it was about $100 if they wanted a custom one. And this is my dog Moki, who is getting the pet feeder. Again, easy gift. People buy these for other people. I've made them for people who have lost their dog, so they have something to remember their dog by, and anything like that. Also, you could do sports related, fishing, hunting, whatever people are into. If they love that theme or hobby, they're gonna buy things to feed or think about that hobby.
In one of my recent videos, I made a giant Maui hook, basically because it sounded fun. And that got me thinking about projects you could make for kids on the CNC. One idea I had was a fancy sword and shield. I've also got a bunch of other game ideas that I'd like to bring to life eventually, but for now, we're just gonna settle for the sword and shield. If you look around online, there's tons of wooden toys like these for sale. I've personally never sold them, so I have no idea how well they'd actually do. But if you sold something like this before, let me know. I'm genuinely curious how they do. Overall, they're about as simple as it gets. And these could be a really fun project to make with your kids and show them how cool woodworking and making can be. Let them paint their own shield, customize their sword, and become a true knight. And if your kids are immediately going to start beating the crap out of each other with them, maybe sliding a pool noodle over the sword might not be a terrible upgrade.
And I don't know why, but I was just really excited to make this one. Essentially, it's just sword toys for children. When I was a kid, I played with sticks and pretended I was a knight and stuff like that, and I just think these are way cooler. They're made out of pine, so they're soft wood, and the shield has a nice little handle on the back, so you can hold it like it's a real shield. I actually had a friend come over the other day with his small children, and he walked in the shop and saw this sword, and he picked it up, and he's like, wow, I would really love to have something like this. And I asked his dad, but he said they're a little young, 4 and 6. He said they'd probably hit each other with them. So that is completely up to you and your children. But I actually saw a guy on Facebook, I don't remember which group it was in, but he says he sells a ton of these. I don't know if he offered a shield, but he essentially just cut the sword shape out of plywood. He didn't even do the fancy handle like I did. And he says he sells a ton of them. The kids love them. He sold a ton at craft fairs and flea markets. So I thought it'd be cool to make a couple files. And yeah, I don't know the age range that would use these. I don't have kids. I just thought they would be fun to make. And seeing the little kid light up, thought this was the coolest thing ever.
This is also a pretty old design that I've made long ago. And this one's a wine rack. I used to sell quite a bit of these when I first started selling woodworking products. Not this specific design, but more so a wall-mounted design with an optional glass holder on the bottom, which you could make a CNC version of something like that. What I like about this design though is it's not very wide, so it's perfect for those longer skinny scraps that can be hard to find a use for. Even if you've got a knot or some other defect in the middle, as long as it's not a giant hole, it really doesn't matter here, because once it's loaded up with wine bottles, you'll probably never see it anyway. And this one here takes about 10 minutes to cut, and it's really easy to sand and assemble.
And I don't know why, but these just make great gifts for like wedding gifts and such. Give them a couple bottles of wine and a wine rack to go with it. People love their alcohol, I guess, anyway, here in Wisconsin, so it's always a win. And this didn't use much wood. It was very easy to make. This would even be very easy to ship if that's how you sell things. I don't have any bottles of wine, but voila, doubles as a water bottle holder.
And after all that, somehow I still have a bunch of scrap wood left. I tried. Unfortunately for this bin here, it didn't make the cut, and off to the fire pit it goes.